The President's security advisor, Sydney Mufamadi, did not reveal, in fact refused to reveal the names of the high-ranking politicians allegedly involved in corruption at Eskom. That's when he appeared before Parliament's watchdog Scopa on Friday. These allegations emerged from former Eskom CEO Andre de Ruyter's television interview and later in his book. He claimed senior politicians are complicit in Eskom corruption. So what should government do to confirm these claims and, of course, to bring those guilty to book? Let's bring in Karam Singh. He's a director at Corruption Watch, and he joins us via our video link this morning. Karam, it's great to see you. Thanks for coming onto the channel. I mean, where do we begin with this conversation? So these names were given to high-ranking government officials. Pravin Gordhan was also given the names. We now know that Sydney Mufamadi was also given the names. Both of them appeared before Parliament's watchdog. Both refused to divulge the names given by the former Eskom CEO. Where to next?
Good morning, and thanks so much for having me on the program. It's not clear where to next. I think Scopa has quite a bit of work still to do, given the incomplete picture that's come out. And I think probably the next major step to do that Scopa has indicated is to get their hands on the so-called intelligence report that the former CEO has relied upon generally to make the bold allegations that he's made. It's quite concerning, first of all, that this investigation took place the way that it did, off the books, and then it's even more concerning that the report wasn't formally submitted somehow to the chiefs of intelligence, and that the report has not seen its way to the president. I mean, what we have now is a real concern that our senior leadership, that members of cabinet are aware that their colleagues are implicated in serious corruption and nobody's doing anything about it. Everybody's sort of passing the buck around. De Ruyter himself has now become the kind of source of the inquiry. People are playing the man as opposed to playing the ball. It seems like there's a publicity exercise going on to sell books, and the public is ultimately the ones who suffer. In that we know that we have a serious allegation that we have senior leadership who are complicit in this kind of corruption, and we don't even know whether they're being investigated. We don't even know whether the president has that information and would be prepared to act upon that information by way of some kinds of, a step-aside type of situation, so that these people can clear their names.
Yeah, because it does feel like sort of a game of protecting my friends and my colleagues, right? In a context where this is a national crisis. The corruption that's unfolded at Eskom has led to a whole range of devastating effects on our economy, on our small businesses. We're getting reports every week of people dying directly as a result of load shedding. I mean, do you see this as a case of protecting comrades? Where's the urgency? Because if we're going to get to the bottom of what's unfolded at Eskom, all of this needs to come out, right?
Yeah, absolutely. We just went through 4 years of the Zondo Commission. Even following the report of the Zondo Commission, we know that there are people that are implicated in that report who still remain within cabinet, who the president hasn't acted upon. How can we think that we've turned a corner on state capture when we have this kind of a scenario where it seems like they're comrades who are above the law, that we still have a kind of crony system? And I understand that investigations have to take place, that investigations could be compromised by certain information coming forth. But, the president's made such strong statements about the need to turn the corner on state capture that, we have a system whereby if people are implicated, they're asked to step aside, they're given an opportunity to clear their name, they're given an opportunity to tell their side of the story, and then we move on. But in this circumstance, to hear, Sydney Mufamadi reduce this to name dropping, almost kind of like a he said, she said thing, is to really underplay it and to almost sort of trivialize something, which, as you say, rises to the level of a national security crisis. and an ultimate crisis which affects all citizens of South Africa.
Kamal, shall we talk just process? On the part of these high-ranking government officials who are appearing before SCOPA, Parliament's watchdog is trying to get to the bottom of whether there's any credence to the issue of crime and corruption at Eskom, right? What are the powers of SCOPA to essentially force these officials to name the names, to give SCOPA the information that they've been given or that they have at their disposal?
It's certainly within SCOPA's powers to subpoena whoever they want and to try to compel the testimony on the basis that such testimony wouldn't be held against these individuals, wouldn't be held against the individuals who give that testimony. This is kind of the idea of a parliamentary privilege. So, SCOPA could certainly raise the stakes by attempting to compel the information. The other thing that SCOPA could do, which Mr. Mufamadi referred to, is the idea of holding certain hearings in camera behind closed doors. That would not be very satisfactory from a transparency perspective. It's not clear what SCOPA would then do with that information. But certainly, there are options available to SCOPA. But I think we need to start asking very difficult questions of the president himself. Mm-hmm. In modern democracies, it's very common for the president to have press conferences, to go before the press, before the public, take questions on these issues. So, the president needs to also take us into his confidence about what is he going to do about the fact that he's got people in his cabinet who are implicated with allegations of corruption. Does he dismiss those allegations? Is he unaware of those allegations? What steps is he going to take to become fully abreast of these issues so that he can make appropriate decisions to then restore the trust and the confidence of the South African public? I think that's really, really where we need to be putting some of our attention.
Yeah, I don't know about you, but I can't remember the last time as a journalist that I had the opportunity to put questions to the president. In fact, I heard an interview with his spokesperson, Vincent Magwenya, just this week, where he was asked pointedly about why the president is not availing himself to face the media, to face journalists, and to answer questions, just given all of the crises that are unfolding in the country. And he's put it down to a diary and a scheduling issue. I mean, what do you make of that?
We had regular briefings during the COVID period. Huge sacrifices were being asked of the South African public during COVID. And I think that we found those briefings sometimes very comforting. I think, the president has a personal touch. He has the ability to communicate directly. It doesn't speak well for the issues around transparency, about good governance, about the state of our democracy, if our leaders are not prepared to go before the public, to face difficult questions from the press, and then to clear these kind of clouds of allegations which reside over this government and over this cabinet. For Pravin Gordhan to come out and say that it's Capture 2.0 is not satisfactory at all, because the question is, what is he doing? What concrete steps is he doing to ensure that we move out of this period of state capture and these kind of throwaway comments at Parliament should almost be treated with disdain by the public, I think.
Yeah. I mean, do you get the sense that Cyril Ramaphosa is hiding?
I don't know. I wouldn't want to cast aspersions on the president. I want to ask the president to perform at the level that he's told us that he's prepared to perform at. That no stone will be left unturned in the fight against corruption. We have a systemic corruption problem. We have a legacy of state capture, and much of it is residing in the state-owned enterprises and in Eskom, and that's part of the reason why our lights are out for 5-6 hours a day. So the president needs to take the bull by the horn, not the fala bull, but the corruption bull, and have a press conference, take questions from the press, and clear the air when it comes to allegations of corruption against senior politicians who reside within his cabinet.
Yeah, he'll no doubt be under increasing pressure to do exactly that as we count down to elections 2024. Let's go back to what's unfolded in SCOPA and SCOPA's attempts to get answers on Eskom corruption Karam, we've talked about the off-the-books investigation. There are concerns around the fact that it was off the books. But what do we know about where our security, intelligence, police are in terms of their investigations into Eskom and corruption at the utility?
I think there's more questions than answers. We know that there's an ongoing SIU investigation. I think the SIU head, Andre de Ruyter, gave us some information about that. We know that those investigations flow via a presidential proclamation, so we know the terms of the SIU investigations. It was concerning when the head of the Hawks, General Labia, came before Scopa, that he said that that issues that De Ruyter had raised were only brought to his attention prior to De Ruyter's testimony in front of Scopa. This raises questions about whether the former Eskom CEO obliged his responsibilities in terms of the PRECA Act to report corruption to the police. I think we have to recognize that law enforcement is put in a very difficult circumstance when they're asked to give public testimony in a context where they have ongoing investigations. I think that the claim that their investigations could be compromised by disclosing too much is something that we do have to take seriously. So, Scopa must continue to proceed. It must get as much information as it can, and where it's appropriate, the prosecuting authority and the police can and should bring the public into their confidence, as long as it doesn't compromise the nature of ongoing investigations. Yeah, absolutely. In the meantime, we're all in the midst of stage 4 and 5 load shedding. Karam Singh, let me thank you for your time this morning. Thanks for weighing in on this discussion. Karam Singh is a director with Corruption Watch.